I've always found that taking that risk really works because life will support you. So in this moment, this is rather easy because I was, even from a teenager, I was searching. I was the truth seeker. I wasn't the bratty teenager when I turned 12, 13. I was actually very sad and very unhappy because everything seemed meaningless. And I wasn't even on drugs. So anyway, and then I did a little searching, like I said, Scientology, SRF, Christianity, and then in my early 20s, I found Eckists through this book, Tiger's Thing. So there's an X Center in Palo Alto, California, and I go up. It was upstairs in a little rented room. So I go up the stairs and talk to this guy named Bill Burgess. Became a friend later on, and basically I just signed up right there without questioning it because it just seemed like there was a lot here. I didn't know what it was, but it seemed like a great adventure. So this is, by the way, the area where Harold was living too, this Bay Area. Actually, I got to meet him, and he was teaching one of the classes I was in, and I went over to his house, and we did some so-called missionary work. They call it Vahana work. We just go out and poster, put out flyers and things like that, do intro talks. So I got to just see Harold and his wife Margie, which Sandy mentioned. And I was in the satsang classes, these classes that you cover the discourses in, you read the discourse for the month, and you discuss it with the other members of this group. So that was all fine. I went to the seminars, which is fun. So it was all good. Everything was in its place for me. And this is like for 40 years. So in the meantime, I had some ups and downs in my personal life. I was married 3 times, divorced 3 times. One of the times was I left, actually a short while, I left Eckists because the wife was adamantly opposed to it, so I chose to go with her rather than the Eckists. And then after a while, that didn't work out with the wife, so I went back to Eckists. Still had my initiations, so I went along. Again, it was okay, It's just because one thing about Eckists, I wasn't into as much the teachings as I was the they call it Vahana work or missionary work. I was more interested in sharing with others because that seemed where it was at for me. Because I can kind of sense that's the growth would happen.
Val, I'm sorry. Brain fog here, I guess. When did you find Duane the Great Writer and the new UUU?
A friend of mine who was in Eckists, he called me up and said, invited me to one of the Skype meetings that Duane had. So I did attend the first meeting, and the first impression I got was, another mini-master. And then the second meeting, I had this recognition I'm talking about. I said, this guy makes sense. He's real. This works for me. Just very, very real sense of this. This is it. And then a few days later, I asked Paul on the real side. I said, "What do you think of this guy?" And Paul just, yeah.
Oh,
and Paul
okay.
Just made it funny.
For some reason, it bleeped out or something. I'm not too sure what happened.
Yeah, am I going in and out, or am I okay?
Yeah, you are now. You're fine now. It went out there for a little bit.
So I asked Paul, "What do you think of Duane?" and he made a funny face. A lot of times the real guides they won't answer you directly. They'll do something and demonstrate something or do something you kind of have to figure out. So anyway, the face kind of gave it away that, of course this is the way to go. So I had my confirmation, and then ever since then I've been taking risks, I guess you could say, and that's kind of the procedure. You just keep going into this unknown isness, and that's where the adventure lies, and that's kind of why I like this reality, because it's always new now, and it's quite an adventure, really. And then I get to do the sharing too, just like I did in Eckists, which is a lot happens from the sharing. You get to be more aware. You get to see other people's viewpoints, and your awareness just explodes into more and more of this isness.
Yes, it is quite an adventure. Would you, just as a synopsis, Bob has something. Hold on a second.
Yeah, hey Val, Bob here. I just was wondering if you might be able to explain, when you're in sometimes you're in a corporation, like Eckists, and all of a sudden one day you kind of realize it's dead. There's no life to it. And then, you said that, being with Duane the Great Writer and the new presentation, it seems like it's really exciting and there's a lot of life in it. Could you go into that a little bit?
Well, you have the comparison. That's what you have here. It's just like, now I keep looking back, and the Eckists, the people that are in Eckists, they're just like standing still almost. And as life goes on, and we're connected with life through the new you, we're so-called moving. I'm just using that term. It's not really moving, but we're becoming more aware, whereas the Eckists are basically stuck in their self-convinced attitudes about the Mahanta, basically the Mahanta, and what their position is. So the comparison is very important. You kind of weigh things, or you just kind of look at things, this, that, what makes sense, and you go with what makes sense if you choose. So that's one of the things that I find very important, the comparisons you make, and that's what you get through all the experiences that we get in the worlds of creation here.
Well, for me, in the last couple of seminars that we went to and listened to at the Worldwide Seminar, listened to the main speakers, it got to be like meaningless fairy tales. I mean, like a truck driver drove up a hill with a dump truck, and there was somebody watching him, and he had his fingers crossed whether or not the guy was going to tip over backwards or not. And he was debating whether or not he should go tell the truck driver, whether or not he should say, be careful. I mean, where's the spirituality? I mean, a lot of times parables used to be written because they would have deeper meanings. But in Eckists, what started out to be parables became, and I would just outright say it, they're just stupid. There is just nothing behind. There is no meaning, no symbolism, nothing. There's nothing to compare with what is being told by these stories that have any meaning anymore. Whereas with Duane the Great Writer, it's exciting. It's like you're traveling to new worlds. You're seeing new vistas. New doors are being opened. And it's so exciting. It's like you've started a whole new life all over again. You almost feel like a young kid, and you can't wait to see what happens, the next moment or the next day. It's so exciting by comparison.
Yeah, Bob, what's happening with that I see, that I was doing myself when I was in Eckingstar. I was rationalizing, well, maybe the story doesn't make sense, or, you go home from one of Harold's talks and you try to scratch your head and say, well, what was that? You try to dig and find something like meaningful from his talks, and you just couldn't do it. So you go to a thing they have after the seminar, like a get together, and they talk about it, and still nobody's really saying anything, So you kind of scratch your head. Well, what was? It must be me, I was rationalizing. Just must be me. I just can't figure it out. He's so spiritual, or he's the master. And I think a lot of people do that, even when they see things funny going on in the organization, because they say, well, that's just the human element. But if we go with the Mahanta, which I think a lot of Eckists now are doing, it's like they see the outer organization, the master has flaws, et cetera, but the Mahanta, well, that's the inner master. Well, he's the main thing, But even we're seeing even that is just like you said, Jesus. It's like a worship of an idea that is, maybe once had something to it, but now is very outdated. And that's where we are with that. I mean, you have to keep moving on. You almost have to keep up with life, or else it's just what it is, and you have to keep up with that isness. Otherwise, you get left behind with your own attitudes.
Well, I'm the same way. When I was listening to those parables, and Sandy and I would discuss these talks that he put on, and we're looking at each other. Well, what did you get out of that? I didn't get anything. Did you get anything out of that? But if you're under the belief that the Mahanta is it, I mean, if he is the ultimate source of spirituality, and you don't get it, it creates a tremendous amount of self-doubt in yourself. You wonder, well, gee, where did I go wrong? Why am I not spiritual? Why am I not getting this? And I'm sure that the Eckists in the corporation today are going through that. They know the Mahanta is it. They know Sri Harold is the best on the planet, and they know that in their heart. But they don't stop to think that maybe there's something wrong here. Maybe I'm not as spiritually downhill as I think I am. Maybe I better start looking into this, and maybe I better double check my belief system, and maybe call on Rebisar or one of the other Eckmasters, as they call them, and get some more insight. You know what I mean? So, because like Rebisar, theoretically Rebisar is the one that gave the Mahanta the rod of power. So you would think that Rebisar would be a very good source to go to find the answers of, well, why am I not connecting spiritually with the Mahanta? Why am I not getting the answers to all his stories? So that's what I would recommend for Eckists to do is, make sure that you connect with one of the Eckmasters, especially Rebisar, and say, what am I missing here? So, yeah, that was an excellent point, Val. Very, very good point.
Yeah, and that brings in, again, the comparison idea. So here, with the new presentation, Duane, you may not understand things, but you have the support of life. If you're sincere and you keep at it, you have the support, and sometimes you don't even need to understand it. You just keep going with it, and you become more aware, because awareness supersedes everything. We hear that all the time. Awareness supersedes everything beyond even understanding, knowledge, love, and just all the things you can think of. So we have the support. Again, in Eckankar, you may not understand something, but and you just didn't have that backup, because, like you say, you go to these satsangs and you discuss with others, and they don't know what the hell is going on either. They just so everybody's kind of clueless, and they pretend that they're in a spiritual group, and they have all the answers and stuff. But if you talk, sometimes if you talk to them personally, then you can see they have a little doubt. They have little questions and doubts too. If you really honestly talk to some of these Eckists personally, because in a group they all get together and it's all rah hugs and love and all that. But down deep, a lot of them are they have questions. They have concerns about what's going on here.
Well, then the other thing that, the Eckists, one of the reasons why they're afraid of Duane the Great Writer is because they think he's off on his own. They don't understand that Duane has 100% support from all those Eckmasters. They're no longer supporting the Mahanta, they're supporting Duane instead. So you would think that, maybe they better check with the Eckmasters and see why, like we have all the Eckmasters working with us along with Duane the Great Writer. They all we're working hand in hand, and in Eckankar that doesn't happen anymore. The Eckists need to realize that the Eckmasters no longer exist, and they no longer support Eckankar. And that's been going on for how many years now, Val?
Which the new presentation?
No. When did the corporate, as far as the corporation knows, they call them Eckmasters, like Rebisar and Flubiquance and Yabo Sakabi and all them. They stopped completely stopped supporting the Eckankar Corporation, the Mahanta, and the living Eckmaster. They don't even do anything with them anymore. And that was
somewhere along the line they left him. They gave him a chance early on, but then they could see he was going nowhere, so they just took off.
No.
And they still work with Eckists, but for Harold, no, they're not with him at all. We don't get it.
Right.
It's a new era. Spiritual masters, gurus, spiritual paths. It was good for its time, but this is a big step for, like you can say, mankind. To the evolution of consciousness and just the way things are going. It's a big step. That's why people are still comfortable with old ideas. That's why it takes a risk taker here to step into something unknown and take a chance. But if you do, life will support you. Life will support you.